CIUT 89.5, Toronto.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of CIUT FM.
Hi, this is Carol Pope.
Hi, I'm Garrett Conley, author of Boy Erased, a memoir.
Hi, I'm Lorraine Segato.
Hi, I'm Gord Depp of the Spoons. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Hello, and welcome to a special episode of Rainbow Country. As I like to call it, a little gay radio show working to give voice to the LGBT community and beyond. As always, I am your tour guide through Rainbow Country. I'm producer and host, Mark Tara. By the way, Rainbow Country originates from the sound of your city, CIUT FM in Toronto, and now proudly in syndication on Bombshell Radio, a 24/7 streaming outlet, and CKUW-FM, Winnipeg, The Juice, CJUC-FM, Whitehorse, plus joining Rainbow Country as of August, CKCU-FM, Ottawa, and Canoe-FM, CKHA-FM, Haliburton, Ontario's cottage country. Who knew? Well, it's because of you, listening, streaming, downloading, that has taken this little gay program and turned it into a syndicated radio show and a #1 LGBT podcast. So wherever, however you may be listening, welcome on board this special episode of Rainbow Country. Random question. Do you remember ushering in 2020? Do you remember New Year's Eve? Who would have thought, ringing in this year, we would be ushering in one of the most challenging years we've ever faced? COVID-19, a global pandemic. We self-isolate, we socially distance, we wear face coverings. And then a global reckoning on race, bringing to light issues of race relations, systematic racism facing Black, Indigenous, and people of color. I thought to myself, what can I do? What can I do to meet this moment in history that we're living through? So I thought, let me do a special episode that will be informative, uplifting, entertaining, but ultimately have us think about what we can do when it comes to race relations moving forward. That brings me to my guest. She is a Grammy Award-winning and 2-time Oscar-nominated singer, songwriter, performer, dancer, Siedah Garrett. She has had a number of worldwide hits that have become classics, including the 1984 R&B #2 hit, Don't Look Any Further, a duet with Dennis Edwards, and the #1 worldwide smash that she co-wrote, Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror, as well as this next song, the #1 hit duet she recorded with Michael Jackson. Up next, Siedah Garrett.
Each time the wind blows, I hear your voice, so I call your name. Whispers and warning, our love is dawning. Heaven's glad you came. You know how I feel, this thing can't go wrong. I'm so proud to say I love you. Your love's got me high. I long to get by. This time is forever. Love is the answer. I hear your voice now. You are my choice now. The love you bring. Heaven's in my heart. At your call I hear harps and angels sing. You know how I feel. This thing can't go wrong. I can't live my life without you. I just can't hold on. I feel we belong. My life ain't worth living if I can't be with you. I just can't stop loving you. I just can't stop loving you. And if I stop, then tell me just what will I do? 'Cause I just can't stop loving you. At night when the stars shine, I pray in you I'll find a love so true. When morning awakes me, will you come and take me? I'll wait for you. You know how I feel. I won't stop until I hear your voice saying I do. This thing can't go wrong. This feeling so strong. Oh, my life ain't worth living if I can't be with you. I just can't stop loving you. I just can't stop loving you. And if I stop, then tell me just what will I do? I just can't stop loving you. We can change all the world tomorrow. We can sing songs of yesterday. I can say, hey, farewell to sorrow. This is my life, and I want to see you for always. I just can't stop loving you. Oh, I just can't stop loving you. If I can't stop, and if I stop, then tell me just what will I do? I just can't stop loving you. I do, girl. I just can't stop loving you. And no, I do. And if I stop, then tell me just what will I do?
Siedah Garrett. Hi, how are you?
I am painfully fabulous. So good I can't stand it.
Fantastic. First of all, I always say this, but thank you for being here to have your voice, your story be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. So thank you so much for that. First and
You're welcome.
foremost.
You're welcome.
Okay, so where to start? I want to start here with you, Miss
Don't
Siedah
start
Garrett.
with me, Mark. Don't you start with me.
Okay,
I'm kidding. Go
can you
ahead.
hear this? Did you hear that?
Yes?
Okay, do you know what that is?
No?
That is your 1988 album.
How am I
Kiss-
supposed to know what the hell?
Kiss, because I'm hitting it, girl. I'm hitting the vinyl. I own it. Can I say, I refuse to be loose?
Oh, shut up, demon.
I love that.
In any kind of way.
Yes.
Lord have mercy. Bless your heart. You put a smile on my face with that one.
Yeah.
And it's not true. I heard about you, Mark Tara. You do not refuse to be loose.
I ain't easy, but I'm not cheap.
I heard that.
Siedah Garrett, Kiss of Life, your 1988 album.
Oh,
There's a story behind this, so please allow me to share this.
Please.
Because this is essentially how we're connecting right now.
all right.
I have this album, and then a few months ago, I had on an artist, a producer, a songwriter by the name of Chris Burkett. And he co-wrote your song, Kiss of Life.
Oh, wow. You know, I've never met him.
So then I had him on the show, and then I thought to myself, after the interview, I thought to myself, let me reach out to Siedah Garrett to see if she'll come on to Rainbow Country. And here we are.
Bada bing.
I know, crazy, eh?
You make things happen. You speak things into existence.
I think a lot of people do, whether they recognize it or not.
Or not. You're right. You're right.
So that was 1988.
Negative or positive.
Yes.
Yes.
1988.
Mm-hmm.
We're now in 2020. You have a new single, The New
Yes.
Frontier, Say
Yes.
Their Names. What's the message behind this new single?
I guess it's just a reckoning, a coming to Jesus type moment. It's a reveal, a mirror on what's happening. I wrote the original. This song was written a few years ago with Trayvon Martin and Freddie Gray's names in place of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
And the sad part is I just had to change a couple of verses. But the chorus is the same and the B section is the same, which means we have the same issue years later. Nothing has been done. And I think what's changing, I feel this is this change is worldwide, and it's not a moment, it's a movement.
Yes.
And I did not have that. I've never felt this politically charged in my life, in my adult life. I've never felt like I had more to say. I've never witnessed what I've witnessed in these videos and digital phone recordings of these criminal acts by these policemen. We are in an age now. This isn't a new phenomenon, but we're in an age now where we can record it. Anybody can record it. And
Sure.
no one is, the people in power and the people that are abusing their powers are not used to being called out, are not used to being shown what they're doing to others and being ridiculed and called out on it. They're not used to that. This is a new phenomenon. And it is changing, literally changing the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wrote this song to speak to that. I wrote this song to bring awareness to that. I wrote this song for the listener to think about that.
How do you see this song? Is it a protest song? Is
It
it
is.
a conscious?
And a peace song. It's a protest and a peace song all at once. Because the protest part is in the first couple of verses where I'm talking about George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and what happened to them. And the second part is the bridge is hope. Don't give up hope and don't dare surrender. Those are hopeful words. So I tell it like it is in the beginning, and then I say what we can do in the end.
Greatness happens even though there's oppression.
Ghetto, that's right.
Ghetto.
G-A-G-T-T-O.
Featuring Common, another powerful song
Thank you.
of yours. So here's the question. Is it important for you to use your voice, your talents, your abilities to help raise consciousness? Is this a goal of yours?
That's what an artist does. An artist raises awareness through their art. My art is music and song. So I'm trying to raise awareness about problems that I see through music and song, because that's what artists do.
Well said.
Thanks.
Okay, let's go back in time a bit. The late 70s, I believe, washing your car while listening to one of your favorite radio stations, and you call
1580 Day, yes.
You ended up calling in to see if legendary artist Sergio Mendes needed any backup singers.
Yes.
Fast forward some 30 plus years, you ended up being nominated for the second time for an Oscar with
Yeah.
Sergio Mendes for Best
Yeah.
Original Song in the 2012 film Real in Rio. Your
No,
first
the film was
nominee.
called Rio. The song was called Real in Rio. The film
Okay.
was called Rio. Yes.
And your first nomination was 2007.
Hmm.
Love You, I Do, Dreamgirls, Jennifer Hudson. And you were nominated for an Oscar for that song, but you also won a Grammy for that.
Yes. Yes.
Never met a man quite like you, doing all he can, making my dreams come true. You're strong and you're smart, you've taken my heart, and I give you the rest of me too. You're the perfect man for me. I love you, I do.
It's my first Grammy, if you can believe that. There were some weird rules with regards to the when Man in the Mirror was out. Otherwise, I'm sure it would have been nominated for a Grammy. But I've been on projects where I didn't do 50% of the entire project, so I wasn't eligible to be to get an actual statuette. But I have Grammy certificates up the wazoo. But the Love You I Do was my first actual statuette.
So where do you keep it?
It is on the mantle, actually on the bookshelf, in an acrylic case so it doesn't get dirty and dusty.
Yeah. So when you won the Grammy, how did that make you feel?
Oh, knowing that I was nominated for it and winning it was a great thing, but it was a horrible, horrible night. I had a friend who thought she could arrange all the transportation, and she hired this limo driver who thought she knew better the directions than those that were given to us by the Grammy officials. She went her own way. We were stuck on block streets. I ended up running a block, having her park the car, let me out and run a block up to the actual venue, huffing and puffing, got to my seat, just missed my Grammy announcement.
Oh, you're kidding.
I sat in my seat and I just cried.
Oh my God.
It was horrible.
You didn't even get up on stage or anything.
No, but I did take a picture after the fact. After it was over, I took a picture with Jimmy Jam, for the record. But it was horrible. My co-writer was on stage saying, well, I don't know where she is, but I'll accept hers for her and give, that's insane.
Wow.
So that was my first Grammy experience, and it was an horrific one.
Yeah. Oh.
But the Grammy is nice,
I can imagine.
I don't think about that when I look at it, so I'm good.
Oh,
1986,
Hmm.
True Blue. You
Oh,
started. You started a long working relationship with Madonna,
Yes.
going from essentially the 80s to the 2000s.
Can you believe that?
How did you end up meeting Madonna in the first place? How did that come about?
Don't you know, baby? True love, oh baby. True love, oh baby. True love, oh baby. True love, true love, oh baby. True love, oh baby. True love, oh baby. True love.
Okay, I am at the time I was like the background singer, one of the most hired background singers. And Stephen Bray was producing Madonna's album, and I've written and done demos with Stephen before. So he called me to do this background session for Madonna. So she was there, and I met her, and oh my God, she was stunning. She was just ridiculously beautiful with those huge eyes and long lashes, top and bottom. She was just the most gorgeous thing. And so I met her, and Stephen said, "So I want you to hire some singers for the background for this song, True Blue." I said, "Okay." So I thought of one singer that I really like to blend with, because we don't even have to speak. We know how to sing together and harmonize very well, blend very well. And I was trying to think of who else I could add to this mix. And I looked at Madonna. I said, "You want to sing on this?" She said, "Sure." So I hired Madonna to sing on her record for this background part. And we just did it. And that's how I met her. And many years later, I was having lunch at Matsuhisa, famous Japanese restaurant in Los Angeles. And I was in the private dining area, seats about 6 people. It was just me. And in walked Madonna and Guy Ritchie. So Madonna said, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, "What's happening, Mrs. Ritchie?" And they both laughed. And Madonna says, "So what are you doing?" And I said, and I quote, I'd heard that there was some issues with one of the background singers long ago, I said. And then I said to her, when she said, "So what are you doing?" I said, "Waiting for your background singer to mess up so I can take her place." Madonna called me like 2 years later and said, "Well, I'm going out on the road, and you want to go?" So I went, and I did the reinvention
tour
with her. Yeah. You know what?
And
That woman, she is the hardest working artist that I have ever met, that I've ever worked with. She knows she's not the best dancer. She knows she's not the best singer, and has said as much to me and in interviews. But she also knows she has to work hard to get it done. And she has no qualms about putting the work in. So I admire her work ethic. Madonna's a beast when it comes to her grind. She's no joke.
So from one legend that you worked with to another legend, Quincy Jones.
Yes.
And did you originally sign with Quincy Jones for a publishing deal?
I originally auditioned for a group that Quincy Jones was putting together.
Okay.
And I think what he wanted was Take Six, or a band, or a group of people. He wanted to do the modern day Fifth Dimension, or the modern day Manhattan Transfer. So just 4 or 5 singers that sang together, or that he could put together to sing together and make a group. So I auditioned. And over the course of like 9 or 10 months, I would get this letter. And the first letter was like, "Congratulations, you're one of 800, one of 500 in Quincy Jones's blah, 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 blah." Quincy told me later that over 800 people auditioned, but it went from 500 I'd get a letter every month or so. And I wish to this day that I'd saved those letters, but I didn't. So, that said, one of 500, one of 250, one of 100, you're still in the running, one of 50, 25, 15, 10, 5. Then it ended up being me and 3 guys, the 4 of us. And we were called Deco. And we did one project, and that was the movie soundtrack from Sidney Poitier's directorial debut, a film called Fast Forward. And that was the only record that we did together. And from that, I did a dance record that Jelly Bean Benitez produced and remixed, I think, and it became a #1 dance record. And it's like a club hit to this day. It's called Do You Want It Right Now?
I want you, oh, I want you so. Do you want it right now? Oh, I can't let go. I want you so bad. Give me all you have. I can show you how. Do you want it right now? Do you want it right now?
So that was the first single from this movie. And I still wasn't in the group yet, but yes, I was. That was our first project. That's right. That was our first project. And once that sort of came and went, the other part of that deal was it was an artist deal, but it was coupled with a publishing deal. And I wasn't a songwriter. I wrote poems, but I'd never written a song. So I said, no, I don't want the publishing deal. I just want the artist part. And the guys were like, fine. So they took their contracts to Quincy, and he sort of shuffled the papers on his desk and said, where's Siedah's contract? And they said, oh, she didn't want to sign. She just wants the artist part. He said, you know what? He pushed their contracts back across the table. And he said, you either all sign or nobody signs. Next thing I know, Siedah, you better open this door and sign this contract. When 3 large Black men tell you to sign, you sign. So I signed the contract, and then I set about the job of learning my new craft. I didn't want to be on the business end of a contractual dispute with Quincy Jones. So I wanted to fulfill my contractual obligation and write these, let's say it was 12 songs for this year. And Quincy only counted as a song what he owned 100% of as a publisher. And I don't ever write 100% of any song. So if the group had to write 12 songs in this year, that means I had to write 24. And don't let 3 people be in the room, or my percentage goes down, and then I have more and more songs so I didn't want to. I was busy about learning what I needed to do to fulfill this contractual obligation. So that's what I did. And the guys just sort of cashed their check, and after a year they were dropped. And I stayed on, signed to Quincy Jones for 7 years, and then signed to a publishing company that he recommended me to for 7 more. So for me, it was one of the best things that has ever happened to me, meeting this man. He's changed my life in so many wonderful ways. And to this day, every year, I don't know what's going to happen this year, but we spend Christmas and Thanksgiving dinner at his house with he and his family. And you never know who's going to show up, child. It's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So there you are working with Quincy Jones. How did Man in the Mirror come about?
I was signed to Quincy Jones's publishing company as a songwriter for about 2 years when he had this meeting of the songwriters on the West Coast. I think there were about 6 or 8 of us at the time. And the meeting was at his house. And I showed up a little late. Meeting was in full swing. And he sort of tracked me across the room with his eyes. And then he said, as I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted, and I'm just trying to shrink into the carpet, just trying to melt into the wallpaper right now. So I just took some copious notes about what he wanted. He said, we're finishing up Michael's album. We need 1 more song to sort of round out the album. He didn't really know what he wanted. He didn't know if it was going to be up-tempo or mid-tempo or a dance. He had no idea. He just said, I want a hit. That's what he said. So I took some notes and I went to Glenn Ballard, whom I had only sung demos for before, but I loved his songwriting. When I sang his demos, I just loved his songs. I thought of this as an opportunity to just sort of get in with him. So we sat down to write this song, and he said, "Well, what does Quincy want?" I said, I don't really know. He just said, "Well, does he want mid-tempo up to?" I don't know. He said, "Well, let's just see what we come up with." So he gets up from his seat and he goes over to the keyboard. And while he's doing that, I'm just sort of setting up my writing stuff, my notebook, my pencils, my recorder, all my stuff. And I'm looking through my lyric book. So I start flipping through the lyric book. And he turns on the keyboard and he starts playing. Doom, 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 doom. While he's playing that, just to get a sound on the keyboard, I'm flipping through this book, and the phrase "man in the mirror" literally jumps off the page. I can almost see it. It popped. I was just drawn. As soon as I flipped the page, I went to those words. Cut to 2 years before that day at Glenn's house. I'm at another writer's house, this amazing jazz pianist named John Beasley. And we're writing this song. And I thought everything was going well. But evidently I was wrong, because the phone rang and he picked up the phone and began this very banal conversation. And he said, she must have said, "So, what are you doing?" And he said, "Nothing. And I'm sitting in the corner seething. He's saying he's not doing nothing when we're trying to write the song, and he should have let the machine pick up the phone anyway. So I was already perturbed by the interruption. So I listened while I'm flipping through my lyric book. I listened, and he said, "The man? What man?" And I don't know what she said, but he said, "Oh, the man in the mirror." I wrote down the words "man in the mirror." 2 years later, I'm at Glenn's house. The phrase pops off the page. I cannot get it out quick enough as I write these lyrics that are just pouring out of me. The first verse and the first chorus of "Man in the Mirror" came out in like 10, 12 minutes. We were done with the first chorus and first verse. Glenn said to me, it was Wednesday, he said to me, "You go home and finish the lyric. I will finish this track. We'll demo this song on Friday." We demoed the song, but we finished the demo after the Quest publishing offices closed. Something in me said, I do not want to wait until Monday for Quincy to hear this song. Now, I'd never called Quincy's house before, but I felt it important enough, since I knew the offices were closed. I knew this was the only way I could reach him, so I called the house. He's in the middle of this meeting, he says. I said, "Quincy, we have this song that Glenn and I wrote." He said, "Okay, so take it, just send it to the office. I'll hear it on Monday or Tuesday." I said, "Quincy, can't you just let me just drop it by?" "No, Sid, I got 12 suits at my dining room table. I'm in a meeting." "Quincy, can't you?" Okay, let me just share with you right quick. Quincy has 6 daughters, right? So he knew this little conversation we were having was futile. So he said, "Okay, bring it." And he hung up the phone. So I came to his house with this cassette. And I knocked on the door, and the housekeeper opens the door, and she calls Quincy from the dining room. The dining room door is open, which you could see from the front door in this house he used to live in. Around his dining room table were 12 suits, just like he said. They are looking up at me like, they didn't say this, but the look was like, as they looked at their imaginary or real watches, like, this must be some really important, because you are interrupting a good meeting. Who is this? Is it, all that was all over all their faces, right? So I said to Quincy, "The only thing, I just want you to just let me know. Just let me know, just get back with me and let me know what you think." Because he said, all right. He closed the door. I go home. 2-3 hours later, I'm making dinner for myself or whatever. The phone rings and Quincy said, and I quote, he said, "Sid, this is the best song I've heard in 10 years." I'm like, yes! And I'm just loving best song in 10 years, best. And he's still talking. And he says something. I'm still living in my moment right now.
Mhm.
And I know he's talking and I kind of hear him say something like, "I don't know. Michael's been in the studio with me for 2.5 years. He has yet to record an outside song. I don't know. But don't worry, Sid. If Michael doesn't do it on his album, I'll record it with James Ingram on my album." Okay, I love James Ingram just as much as the next guy, but Michael Jackson, James Ingram. Michael Jackson, James, there's no comparison, but I had to just let it go.
Mhm.
I had to let that go. That was not in my control. Let it go, whatever. Next thing I know, 2-3 days later, Quincy is calling me from Westlake Studios.
Mhm.
And he says to me, and I quote, "Sid, we in the studio recording your old piece of song." I was like, yes! And I'm reveling in, like, they're in the studio, they're recording it, it's so great. And I don't hear, he said, but Michael has, it's like, when Charlie Brown's teacher talks?
Yes.
That's all I was hearing. I didn't really get words, but I heard him say something about Michael loves the song, but he wants the chorus to be, hold on. And then I hear, and Quincy comes back to the phone and says, "And Michael really wants you to bring home the notion of," hold on, Sid. Next thing I hear is, and Quincy gets back on the phone and said, "Sid, hold on a minute." Quincy Jones then puts Michael Joseph Jackson on the phone. Now, I don't know about you, Mark, but when I was coming up, Michael was my husband. Okay, of the Jackson 5, my other cousins had Tito and Jermaine, but Michael was my husband, right? So in my mind, I'm on the phone with my husband.
Of course.
Yes. But I wanted to be the antithesis of every other fan that was Michael Jackson's.
Mm.
Every day he's like, "Oh my God, Michael." People are crying. I was not gonna be that person. I wanted to be the antithesis of fandom. So I got on the phone with my husband and I said, I went straight hotel operator. I said, "How can I help you?"
Of course, like a good wife says.
You know what I'm saying? The first thing, no, that's just in my mind. But outside, I'm a songwriter and I'm here to do some business. But he's not my husband at that point. But in my mind, I'm screaming, I'm yelling, my heart is palpitating because I'm on the phone with Michael Joseph freaking Jackson, right? So he says, the first thing he says to me is, "I love your song."
Oh.
I'm like, thanks. The second thing Michael Jackson says to me is, "And I love your voice." I was like, thanks. And then he starts telling me, something about what he was from the song. But in my little brain, and I don't even know where I got the audacity. It's that same chick that got the audacity to ask Sergio, was he looking for singers?
Yes.
I said to myself, you know what? I don't want Michael Jackson to have to worry about being a co-writer on this song. I don't want him to have to worry about writing lyrics when I can just write 6 different stanzas for him to choose from. And that's what I did. And he ended up choosing, "You got to get it right while you got the time, because when you close your heart, then you close your mind." The original demo of Man in the Mirror had no double chorus. No double, that section was not there. So I had to write it. And when I met him, he was in the studio with Quincy, and Quincy called me over. I didn't know he was in the studio. I thought it was just Quincy and Bruce Swedien, like the most incredible engineer on the planet. So I thought it was Quincy and Bruce at the studio. And Quincy said, this song is a little bit too high. The key's too high for Michael. We need you to come and sing it in the lower key. I'm like, cool. So I go to the studio and I walk in, and it's Bruce Swedien, Quincy Jones, and my husband. I was like, oh my God. But all this internal, I still wanted to be cool as a cucumber. I did not want to be fangirl. So I met him, and then I made my way into the booth to sing in the new key. And I noticed that Michael was following me into the studio. So I kind of turned over my shoulder like, what are you doing? What's going on? He had this huge, it was the 80s. So he had a huge video camera, the size of like a boombox, on his shoulder, videoing me going. I'm like, what are you doing? He said, I want to record you singing this song. I said, why? He said, because I want to sing it like you.
Oh.
I said, great, Mike. All my friends are going to believe me when I tell them he wants to sing it like me. So I just that was a moment between us who were in the studio, and I thought it would stay that way until I saw Spike Lee's documentary, where you actually see Michael following me into the booth with the video camera on his shoulder, because there's a mirrored wall in that studio, and you actually see the man in the mirror filming the man in the mirror being sung by the man in the mirror. It's insane. It's insane. But I thought that was a moment that I was just going to have of my own. I never told anybody about it. Because like I said, who's going to believe me when I tell them? But yeah, when that documentary came out, it was just such a blessing to see that. It was great. So yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah.
And that song changed your life.
Oh, in so many ways. Oh God. That song is my introduction to many great things that have happened to me in my life, and events that I've been invited to because of that song, and because of my relationship with Quincy or Michael, or it's just awesome. I just am just so blessed and so pleased that I've found my thing. A lot of people don't find their thing for a long time.
Yeah,
I finally found my thing, and I'm doing what makes me happy every day, and it's just a beautiful thing.
Powerful.
And then COVID happened. A whole new world. Yeah, we're gonna need one anyway.
So getting back to your current track.
Yes.
The New Frontier.
Say their names.
Say their names. Ultimately, Siedah Garrett, what do you want the listener to come away with after they've heard your track?
First of all, if you're not either fully engaged in crying your eyes out, or at least tearful, you have a cold black heart. This song is so emotional. Let me just share with you, whenever I sing it, if I'm thinking about what I'm saying, I cannot not cry. Even during rehearsal, I can't. If I'm thinking about the words, I can't not cry. So it's just a very emotional song for me, and I hope that it has wings. I hope it has a life of its own, and I hope its power is magnified as it is sent out into the world and heard by person after person and touched heart after heart.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful song.
Co-written by my dear and amazing guitar player, master, Michael Fish Herring, who was one of Prince's guitarists and toured with New Power Generation, and is now on tour with Christina Aguilera when she tours. But he's just an underrated songwriter and an awesome guitar player. So I love writing with him. So we wrote this song, like I said, several years ago. and just added some new names.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate. Yeah.
So, Siedah Garrett, what's coming up next for you?
I don't know about next, but what I'm working on now is the musical of the film, a musical adaptation of the film The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith. And I'm really excited because I'm doing the lyrics, and I'm happy with the product that we've done so far. But now Broadway is, I don't know what's going to happen. So that's why I said I don't know about next. But what also is happening for me that I'm so stoked about is I was just hired to write songs for Netflix's Dear White People.
Okay.
So I'm really stoked about that. So between Dear White People and The Pursuit of Happiness, I think I have the people of color pretty much surrounded here. I think I'm good. I'm good on the international inclusion thing. Yeah.
Siedah Garrett, I have to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being on the show.
Mark, Tara, this has been relatively painless. Thank you so much.
Well, they rallied up in Princetown. Another cop's excessive force. When the protest turned to riots burned for the death of George Floyd. Now the people won't be silent, and the city won't be calm. Another young black male who's dead or jailed. The endangered list goes on. Oh, when will there be justice? When will there be peace? When will we see love as you and me? And when will there be kindness on the new frontier? That's the day when love will conquer fear. On the new frontier. And what happened in Kentucky, ending Breonna Taylor's life, when the cops barged in, guns are firing in the middle of the night. So the people won't be silent. No, the city won't be calm. It's a wake-up call for one and all in the dark before the dawn. Oh, when will there be justice? When will there be peace? When will we see love as you and me? And when will there be kindness on the new frontier? That's the day when love will conquer. Yeah. So don't give up hope, and don't dare surrender, because you should know love is tough but tender. Oh, when will there be justice? Say their names. When will there be peace? David McAtee. When will we see love as you and me? Tamir Rice. And when will there be kindness? Philando Castile. On the new frontier. Say their names. That's the day when love will conquer. Be there. Freddie Gray. Then there will be kindness. Eric Garner. On the new frontier. Michael Brown. That's the day when love will conquer. Say their names. On the new frontier. Say their names.
We just heard Siedah Garrett's new single, The New Frontier, Say Their Names. A beautiful song with a powerful message. For more on this world-class talent, Siedah.com. Don't forget to keep up to date with all things country, Rainbow Country. Follow me on socials at Mark Tara Music. The podcast for Rainbow Country is available on all major platforms. The official Rainbow Country playlist is out on Spotify. And of course, everything is hooked up at marktara.com. So, where do we go from here when it comes to race and race relations? In my humble opinion, honestly, lasting change comes from within. From within you, from within me, from within the person looking back in the mirror. I'm Mark Tara. Thanks for listening. Till next time.
I'm gonna make a change for once in my life. It's gonna feel real good. Gonna make a difference. Gonna make it right. As I turn up the collar on my favorite winter coat, this wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street with not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their need? A son's disregard, a broken bottle top, and a one-man soul. They follow each other on the wind, you know, 'cause they got nowhere to go. That's why I want you to know I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways, and no message could have been any clearer. If you wanna make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change. Na 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 na. I've been a victim of a selfish kind of love. It's time that I realize there was someone no home, not a nickel to love. Could it be really me pretending that they're not alone? Oh well, oh deeply scarred, somebody's broken heart and a washed out dream. They follow the pattern of the wind, you see, 'cause they got no place to be. That's why I'm starting with me. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways, and no message could have been any clearer. If you wanna make the world a better place, take a look at yourself, then make a change. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways, and no message could have been any clearer. If you wanna make the world a better place, take a look at yourself, then make that change. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. Oh yeah, I'm asking him to change his ways. Change, no message could have been any clearer. If you wanna make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make the change. You gotta get it right while you got the time. Now you close your heart, then you close your mind. That man, that's when
Siedah Garrett, co-writer of Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mr. Mark Tara.
Rainbow Country.